The air crackled with tension. 4 figures were in a white hallway. They were in an old abandoned genetics lab facility called Crow Genetics. Tim, the seasoned leader, said in a stern and cold voice, "This is where this evil started. They are called the Monster Dolls. Giant monsters that resemble girls that all have one consciousness and were created only for 3 reasons: to kill, to torture, and to dominate." Tim and the rest of the 3 soldiers went to a large room that had a large computer monitor, nothing but static on the screen. Griff, the tech whiz, turned it on and tried the password, but it wouldn't work. Griff thought of what the password could be. He looked around to find a creepy pink diary that was torn up. Showing the password, it was called Beautiful and Pretty. Griff thought it was the dumbest password ever, but it worked and he got access. The 4 men looked at the screen in trepidation. The screen logged in showing disturbing, unnerving, distorted black and white videos, recordings of creatures that resembled girls. But they were enormous monsters. It showed where each one was located and certain DNA they possessed and how many people they've killed. Something was very off-putting and just strange about their faces. They all looked like they were in the uncanny valley and looked disturbed and filled with psychopathy, their faces, and were highly exaggerated, and their eyes were empty and creepy, but they were beautiful at the same time, making an unnerving, bizarre contrast. These women were giantess monsters, created and built from Crow Genetics into super weapons controlled by a machine with one dark mind ruling them all, a dark evil experiment gone wrong and manipulated by a deranged psychopath in red who's controlled by their dark desires to become a gigantic god, taking over the minds of these monster dolls to be part of someone's disturbing fantasy of godhood and domination. Then Sean, the youngest, swallowed hard. This was no ordinary mission. This was life or death. The world had changed and it was a hellscape. Tim, Griff, Cloak and Sean were the last soldiers, the last defense since Deadzone and Doji were terrible at their job and got turned into toys. It was all up to them now. Nobody could stop this evil but them. Tim cleared his throat as he got a new bizarre, ominous message from a missing soldier from the computer. His name was Casper Sick, who they never met, he said, was being held hostage by a monster cheerleader in red. They decided to go and rescue him. He was located in a place called St. Elmore Institute Asylum. A chill ran down Sean's spine. The asylum, abandoned, haunted, a place of whispers and shadows. Tim continued, his voice low and growling. "Where we are going is dangerous. We might not come back. We know our orders. Neutralize the threat and plan a rescue mission to rescue Casper Sick." The asylum loomed before them, a skeletal silhouette against the dying sun. Wind howled through shattered windows like a chorus of lost souls. Inside, dust swirled in the stale air, thick with the scent of decay. Griff pointed his flashlight at a wall, the plaster crumbling to reveal faded murals. Then they saw an eerie elevator. They turned it on and went into it. Then Sean could swear he heard an off-putting, childlike feminine laughter with disturbing grunts and sounds. But the other soldiers didn't hear anything. The soldiers arrived to a huge surveillance system where they saw a video footage turn on by itself, like the area was haunted. "This place, it feels so familiar, but I don't know why," Sean muttered, his voice barely a whisper and filled with uneasiness and confusion. The footage they were seeing was very disturbing. It showed a terrifying giant cheerleader girl. Her face was filled with utter psychopathy. She was towering over soldiers, with a dress made out of red blood. Her blonde ponytail was golden. Her eyes were blue and empty and disturbed. She was laughing as she kept disappearing and reappearing like a ghost. They screamed as she killed them slowly, one by one, like a deranged killer, doing evil, disgusting things to them in different locations around St. Elmore Institute, tormenting them and then capturing them to be her little eternal toys. She was obsessively laughing and talking about a high school jock that she had captured, and the soldiers were going to join him. The unnerving sound of the damaged static footage made it all the more worse. It was the distortion of sound, the emptiness in the giant girl's eyes, the pure evil on display, the killings and dehumanization of the other soldiers that chilled the four men to the bone. It was all horrifying and unnerving. They then moved on to another room, a hallway. They found her name written on a wall in what looked like red blood. The creature's real name, Ruby Sparks, a dark legend, a horror story, a forgotten name lost in time and made you feel uneasy remembering it. Below it, a child's drawing, a gigantic stick figure towering over tiny people, an unnerving, large, grotesque smile on its face. The stick figure had creepy blue googly eyes attached to it. Her dress was painted with blood. Many of the tiny people were dead and had X's on their eyes. Then in the back was a creature that looked like a scribble of a mechanical heart. The soldiers then used their flashlight and looked up to see creepy writing on the ceiling with black ink. It said, "Hell won't save you from the evil she will bring." Griff swore under his breath this stuff they were seeing was getting more disturbing the more and more the deeper they explored. This creature was a monster. She was a demon, something out of hell itself. No, she was the devil, in form of a giant cheerleader girl in red. Tim picked up a charred pink teddy bear, remembering how his daughter died when the city broke down. This creature was behind all of it, and the anger he felt, he wanted this gigantic red cheerleader demon destroyed and his daughter avenged. "Something happened here," Sean said. "I remember some things, and it was too horrifying to tell in detail. Your daughter didn't deserve this, Tim. Whatever this creature is, what we are up against is more sinister than we realize." The name on the wall and disturbing child drawings of a monster that haunted Elmore Institute. Ruby Sparks, a dark red demon rising from the ashes of an evil, dark tragedy that changed and destroyed the world forever. Section 4. Red terror takes form. The first tremor shook the building, dust raining down from the ceiling. Then came the screams, human screams of a man, but it was something distorted and muffled. Terror tightened its grip on Sean's throat. Griff pointed his flashlight down a hallway. They found a locked room. It was isolated from other rooms. Griff kicked the door down, and what they saw was disturbing to the human eye. They found Casper sick in a chair, dead. And the message was coming from this room. He was dead this entire time. They were being led here as a trap by Ruby Sparks. Then Tim heard a beeping noise. He yelled, "Everyone leave the room now!" As they ran and left the room, as the room exploded in a loud bang, leaving ashes behind. Then the asylum was moving back and forth like something or someone was moving it. It moved faster and faster. The building was twisting and turning, and all the soldiers got hit by the building's violent movements, and they all went unconscious. They all woke up in a large abyss underground the asylum, where there were more large rooms and empty hallways and huge machinery. It was endless. Then Sean heard her creepy laughter from earlier. Now it was more audible, and they knew she was close. She trapped them, and they had to escape. They went to another area where they found many stairs that led upstairs, but many of the stairs were destroyed. They needed another way to escape the asylum. Section 5. Red Demons, toys. The four soldiers found an old elevator. They went inside it, but then something was grabbing it. The four soldiers felt the elevator fall, and it broke open. As the four soldiers woke up hurt, but miraculously they were not severely injured or killed. Tim barked orders, his voice sharp, even after the fall that could have fatally killed them. They were outmatched, outgunned, but not out of options. Griff got explosives ready to set them off. Cloak hefted his weapon, a specially designed harpoon gun. Sean checked his rifle, his heart pounding against his ribs. "She's found us," Tim said, his eyes fixed on the location they were in. They were in the first floor again, but it was completely destroyed. The asylum building was collapsing in on itself. Ruby had destroyed it completely. Tim barked, "Be careful, men. She's a deranged, depraved, psychopathic monster. We need to be smart." Their plan was simple, desperate, but it was all they had. Lure her in, take her down, and pray she doesn't get us. Section 6. Face to face with a beautiful monster. The air grew heavy, charged with a strange energy. They heard her laughter. Her stomps from her red high-heeled boots shook the ground. Then they saw her. She was a psychopathic giantess. Her red cheerleader uniform made her look menacing. Her beauty magnified to terrifying proportions, her red lips curving into an unsettling psychopathic grin. She towered over them. She was immense. Her blue eyes stared down at them with a disturbing hunger and desire to do evil things to them, seeing them as mere objects for her disturbing, twisted fantasies and desires. She laughed psychopathically, her eyes wide and disturbed, as the soldiers went for an all-out attack, as Ruby kept staring at them with an unnerving intensity, not even moving at all as they fired at her, but nothing happened. Then she just disappears. Out of nowhere, the surveillance system came down at them. Griff and Cloak jumped out of the way as it crashed with a thud. The monitor had words saying, "Sleep, my beloved." Tim shot the system as it exploded. He knew it was time to get revenge, but then, out of nowhere, a helicopter came down and landed on him. The soldiers yelled in horror. Tim was killed. Then Ruby appeared again, laughing more psychotically. This time she targeted and grabbed Sean, her second victim. The two soldiers, Griff and Cloak, fired at her, but it didn't do squat. As Sean screamed, fighting constantly against her, she then put him close to her face. She then stared into his soul. Her giant, empty blue eyes warped his mind. It was being taken over. As she spoke, her voice boomed in his ears with a haunting, beautiful melody. It was hypnotic and supernatural. Her voice echoed, "I always wanted a toy soldier. Your body, mind, and thoughts are all mine." As she kissed him and then did evil things to him as he screamed in pure agony, as Griff and Cloak watched in utter terror, she then threw him down, leaving him unconscious. She stomped towards the last two soldiers, Griff and Cloak, with huge, creepy, empty blue eyes, deliberately walking slow, showing her dominance, staring at them with a predatory gaze, saying, "The world is my toy. You all are my little toys. I will kill and dominate you, and you will beg for mercy unless you call me your God. Then I will love you and protect you from the evils of outside. You can surrender and be my little toys, or you live forever as I send you to hell, where giant girls with my consciousness will torment you." The four soldiers yelled furiously, used all their weapons at her, but it did nothing. She was invincible. She was a dark red god. She then grabbed the three soldiers and tormented them, laughing evilly. As their weapons were destroyed, it was useless. She then absorbed the energy out of them, making them weak. She then stared her giant eyes into their souls as their minds warped to jelly as she laughed with a psychopathic grin. She then said, "Now you will be my little soldier toys for all eternity." Sean woke up with his legs paralyzed. He then raised his energy-based rifle at Ruby, his finger trembling on the trigger. This was it, the moment of truth. But then Ruby smiled wickedly and towered over him. She grabbed him and told him to fire at her. He fired 30 blasts over and over as he screamed. She then laughed at him. She said he tried, but his best shot wasn't good enough. She then completely consumed Sean whole in her mouth, where he was teleported to hell, where giant girls would torment him forever. She toyed with the soldiers and played with them as a toy. She then became their god. There was no escape. She was a monster that nobody ever could stop or escape from. She was the ruler of this new world, and everyone and everything was now reduced to a toy for her sick, twisted fantasies of becoming God.